Hey guys, I'm Randy Unger, and this is another episode of Unger the Radar, where we talk all things film. And it is May 4th, and I want to wish everyone here, I have a wonderful panel. May the 4th be with you, gentlemen.
Also with you.
May the 4th be with you.
We've got Kevin Mascara. Welcome, Kevin. Forrest Bennett. Welcome back, sir. And Mike Sanzari. Welcome back. Since it is Star Wars Day, I was just curious, what is your favorite Star Wars movie or moment, Kevin?
I mean, I think the easy answer is always Empire, certainly. But I'm actually going to flip it a little bit right now. I'm going to say Mandalorian is making a very strong take for another like rebirth and resurgence of Star Wars. So, frankly, just getting re-energized about the franchise with Mandalorian might be my new favorite moment right now.
That's very good. And I'll be honest with you, I have not seen the most recent season. I know. Forrest, Star Wars, I know you're a sci-fi fan.
Definitely Empire is my favorite.
Yeah, same here.
And,
I think it's a tie. I mean, I used to like Empire and Jedi equally, but the more I see Empire, the more I realize how almost near perfect it is as a film, and definitely my favorite entry in the franchise. So yeah, I agree with you guys. Mike, how about you?
I'm definitely an Empire fan, but as of late of the newer movies, Rogue One has really touched my heart as one of my favorite Star Wars films. So probably be watching that a little later.
Cool.
Yeah, I did watch the original trilogy today, and I did watch a little bit of the first Ewok movie on Disney Plus.
They're all on Disney Plus now, right?
Yeah. Yes, they are.
Okay. Good to
Both
know.
the originals, the sequel, the prequels, and the sequel trilogy.
Gotcha.
And I think both of the spin-offs.
And you know what I don't think gets a lot of attention. I mean, you hear about it here and there, but Solo,
I agree, that was underrated.
Yeah, the origin story of Han Solo, it was really well made, and it had a great score by John Powell.
Yeah. Plus, I think if anybody who didn't like the sequel trilogy, I think they'll definitely enjoy this one, because this one definitely feels a lot more in tune with the original trilogy.
Definitely.
And I will also say, I gotta say, Donald Glover stole the movie. For me, he stole the movie as Lando. Like, he just nails down Billy D. Williams's voice and mannerisms to a T.
Are they gonna do a follow-up to the Solo movie?
I don't think so.
No,
it didn't do well enough in theaters to really warrant interest in another.
That's a shame.
Yeah, which is too bad.
Yeah. Well, we have some great stuff like The Mandalorian to keep us busy, so that's good. So, all right. Just wanted to get the Star Wars talk in, so that was good, gentlemen. Also, pandemic picks. What are we watching these days to keep us sane? Kevin.
Well, I think I'm going to combine this with what today is, Cinco de Cuatro. So, sometimes an oldie but a goodie, but I've actually looking to restart Arrested Development again. Comedy during a pandemic, nothing's better than laughing. So I'm going to go down that route.
I recently did revisit Arrested Development in memory of Jessica Walter, since she passed away last month. But recently for me, I've been, I actually just got around to starting. I actually just to start, in honor of Asian American Pacific Heritage Month. I started watching, because I'd never seen it before, Fresh Off the Boat.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, and I will definitely I'll definitely say it's a show I find very relatable as an Asian American, like in terms of as far as coming from being a first generation American, being the new kid in town, the whole the 90s setting, and also being a kid in the 90s, and then also the mom character on the show definitely reminds me of my mom.
Oh.
In a lot of respects, or at least in some respects. I've also been watching Superman and Lois on HBO Max.
How is that? I've been meaning to check that out.
It definitely goes into new. I would say as far as Superman is at least. Well, actually, this is territory that the Superman comics have been exploring for the last 25 years. But we finally see Superman and Clark Kent and Lois Lane as a married couple with children.
Interesting. Some super babies.
Some super teenagers.
Ah, gotcha. All right.
But definitely. But yeah, if you enjoy Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, it's part of that whole universe.
Yeah.
So I recommend it. I recommend if you're a fan of those shows.
Yeah. Kevin, I know you were a Smallville fan back in the day.
Oh yeah, excellent 10 seasons. Well, excellent 8, maybe we'll say, but just great. I mean, it started the trend. If you want to open a bigger debate on who does what better, or at least has done for the most recent future, though, now you can make a debate this year. DC's always done TV better than Marvel, I would say.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Smallville is one of those things that really kick that off.
Yeah. TV and animated feature films.
Yes, very much so. I completely agree with that second part.
Cool. Mike, what are you watching these days?
So I've been going back to Seinfeld lately. Just got my Hulu access back, so reliving one of my favorite sitcoms from the 90s.
It's my absolute favorite, and you see me on Facebook all the time reposting stuff. I can never get enough. It's like an endless supply of jokes and memes, and I love it. Mike, do you have a favorite episode or top 3?
That's so hard. I like the one when the cabin burns down. That's one of my favorites.
The Cheever.
Yeah. Vandalay Industries is a great moment too, and the callbacks to that as the series goes on.
The Soup Nazi.
The Soup Nazi is a great one too.
There's so many moments that are just like ingrained in my memory. Because
the show about nothing, the pitch about their own show. It's just wonderful all around.
Funny story. On the show, George worked with George Steinbrenner, who was played by Larry David in the show.
The voice, yeah.
A few years ago, I was reading a biography about George Steinbrenner, and the whole time I was reading the book, I could hear Larry David's voice saying everything, quote, hearing Larry David's voice as George Steinbrenner throughout that whole book.
Yep, that's funny. And actually, when I was like a toddler, I was with my parents. We went to Cooperstown, and they got a photo op with George Steinbrenner. So he's actually holding me, and I have an ice cream cone in my hand. So yeah, it was probably like 1985 or 6, and I obviously don't remember it, but I've got the photo for proof. So there you go. And speaking of Seinfeld and Larry David, I've basically, when I have a free moment, Curb Your Enthusiasm is what I'm watching. I just go to different random episodes and kind of just, it just depends. It's like, it's always on in the background. And that series is always puts a smile on my face. So
interesting. I mean, I never could get into it. On paper, I should love that show, but for whatever the reason is, I could just never get sucked into it.
Is it Larry David himself that you're not a fan of?
I like his writing. It might be that. I mean, I think he might be overly neurotic, which I get. That's his character, especially there. But I don't know. There was something always off-putting about the show. But like I said, if you look at it, great writing, actors, a little improv, a little bit great scripted comedy, a la like Seinfeld style. I should love it. Just don't know why.
It's interesting. All righty. Well, some good pandemic picks, gentlemen. I definitely have to catch up on my DC and Marvel. Definitely my Marvel stuff. We did the Falcon and the Winter Soldier last week, and yeah.
I'm behind on Marvel shows.
Yeah. Falcon, fantastic. Highly recommended. I liked it more than WandaVision personally.
I'm curious. Does Wyatt Russell deserve as much warrant as much hate as all the memes do?
Oh, I haven't seen any, but he was okay. He, wasn't great. I'm not like the biggest fan of his, but it's worth checking out. I'd like to talk to you about it another time. So yeah. Okie dokie. So guys, let's get into our first review. Now, this movie, I was very intrigued by the cast. It's called The Mauritanian, and it stars Jodie Foster, Tahar Rahim, Shailene Woodley, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Zachary Levi.
Levi.
Maybe. Okay. And basically, it's about a defense attorney played by Foster, who basically helps out a guy who has been connected to the 9/11 terrorist attacks. It's based on the actual guy. His name is Mohamedou Ould Slahi, based on his memoir Guantanamo Diary. So it's based on a true story, and basically it's about this guy's struggle in prison in Guantanamo Bay, and Foster trying to help him out in any way she can. Shailene Woodley plays her assistant, and I think it was beautifully acted. It was a little dull in some parts. It was, I mean, the whole movie is dialogue, but there were some interesting scenes at the actual prison with involving torture, and basically how terrorists are treated in prison. So I think that was an interesting aspect. I think they could have focused a little bit more on the prison aspect of it.
Yes.
But I was impressed by Foster, and especially Tahar Rahim, who played the terrorist. He was fantastic. And yeah, I'm really glad this movie came my way. It came out last year. This is actually the home video release. It's actually on it's on digital now, and on May 11th it's going to be on DVD and Blu-ray. So that is why we're talking about it now. Mike, what were your thoughts of the Mauritanian?
I thought it was good. Like you said, it was a little dull in some places. And I think that if we got a little more insight into prison life, other than what we got with, I think the other character was Marcel, was his, the individual he was talking with every once in a while. I would have liked a little bit more of that, but I thought the visuals were great. I think that Shailene Woodley did a good job too. Haven't seen her act in anything since The Fault in Our Stars, so it was nice to see her in something a little different than what she did before. So I enjoyed it. I would watch it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see watching this again too, because I'm sure there were a lot of things that I missed. Little things here and there, and little details. I wouldn't mind reading the book, actually. I'm not much of a reader, but I would check out this book because the story is very fascinating. So, Kevin, what were your thoughts?
Well, I gotta say, I really like this movie. I mean, I'm not typically a drama movie fan, so to speak, but in my mind, this is exactly how you do a slow burn. I think I agree with you that sometimes the pacing felt it was too much, but I actually appreciate it. If you think about it, not much really happened in terms of the movie. We're just trying to unpack the fact if he's telling the truth or not. And this is all based on his diary, so it's definitely one-sided. But between, I think, the amazing acting across the board with the cast, plus an excellent marriage of background music, you felt the intensity every single time. Every scene, it was like that music just kept you wound up and tense. Is this real? Is he lying? How with the torture scenes, for example, with that music just really kept you on the seat of your pants. I thought it was excellently acted, represented. I mean, certainly we don't know the full story. I think given the context, which I'm glad they did at the end, saying this is based on a book. So obviously, you don't want to get too political, whatever, but we don't know if this is true or not. We know this is one man's account. What we can definitively say is based at least on one court finding that this, they did not maybe have enough evidence to convict them. I think the end also, just even subtitles really gave an impact because you get the sense of relief and then you read something and then you're sucked right back in. Was great. I mean, honestly, my only gripe would be, and this is being nitpicky, is Zachary Levi. I think this is a good example where you can have I guess it's not an indie film, but maybe a less popular film, get a well-known actor, but the role may not be meaty enough for him.
Yeah.
I think he needed more to do. It was very hard for me to see CIA agent guy as opposed to Zachary Levi Shazam, or was it Chuck? His thing was he did what he could with the scene, but there wasn't enough for him to do that. I did not see him as the character he played, which I don't think is a fault of his. I just think it's editing and timing.
Literally any leading, like mild-mannered leading man or even supporting actor could have played this role. And yeah, I'm totally with you. Like, I wanted to see much more, because I think his previous film was Shazam. And or he probably did some stuff between them, but that was his most memorable for me anyway. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, you have Jodie Foster, you have Benedict Cumberbatch. These are known actors for many things else. I felt them become that character. They had enough opportunities to show us the people they're portraying. I just felt like Zachary Levi didn't have enough time, and therefore, if it really was that small of a part, give me a no name. That's very nitpicky, but it is something that took me a little bit out of it.
And you know what, with Benedict Cumberbatch, I thought his accent was a little silly. Like it's weird for me because I know he's British. I know he was Sherlock, and I know he's done a lot of roles, but he's usually British. But it sounded weird with that like Southern accent.
Yeah, that took me out. I don't know, him doing a Southern accent just took me out of the movie.
Yeah, he could have worked on that a little bit better, but overall, I think he did a pretty good job. Far as what were your thoughts?
I mean, I would largely agree. With the consensus is that excellent cast, especially performances, especially Jodie Foster, Tahar Rahim, and Shailene Woodley, where they were all excellent.
Yeah.
And I think the story, it's a very compelling story.
Right.
But at the same time, there was definitely pacing issues. And yeah, I agree. There could have been more time. They could have spent more time showing life in this prison, in Guantanamo,
right,
and showing what life was like. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know if this script was screened by the Pentagon and they were like telling the filmmakers what they couldn't film, because they do that.
With Guantanamo Diary, they redacted like most of the book. So
yeah, I think that's probably what might have actually improved how it could have been improved is if they hadn't redacted it.
Yeah, it could have been a much more interesting story.
Yes.
And also, I should have mentioned this. So he was held without charge for 14 years. So that's insane.
Yeah, that whole thing at the end at the epilogue, it was like, that was really depressing. That was very depressing to watch.
Good old Patriot Act.
Yep.
Yeah, again, they could have focused on the prison life. I think that would have been a much more interesting story. But they gave Jodie Foster another chance to shine because she's a fantastic actress, and I think she won the British Academy Award,
the BAFTA.
For this, I think. Yep. So good for her. Mike, what were your takeaways?
So I think that one line that really stood out to me, Benedict Cumberbatch's character said it, which I'm not remembering the names of the actual characters at the moment, but it was like, somebody has to pay for this, not anybody. And I like that like moral conflict that you still see from somebody in a high ranking command in the military, but still has that moral compass of, somebody does have to pay, but it should be the right person who has to pay, not just somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very heavy movie, but it doesn't feel heavy. Like it could have been a lot more intense. I think they did it in a way that was easily digestible for the audience, something that goes down easy. And I mean, I think they played it safe with that. I wanted more grit. I wanted more like something. It was like missing an ingredient.
As a music guy, though,
it could have been more polemical.
Yeah.
I'm saying, Randall, as a music guy and score guy, I mean, that didn't help bring you that intensity. I really like it's something I usually don't pay attention to, but for this movie, I think it was in the forefront.
So the music was by Tom Hodge, who I am not really familiar with, but I thought the score was okay. It didn't really jump out at me, but it's interesting that it made an impression on you, Kevin. So that's good. So, all right. Would you guys, Forrest, would you recommend this to people?
This is a tough one. I mean, this isn't something I would run out to theaters to see.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, if I would recommend it, I'd say watch it on Netflix or HBO Max.
Yeah, definitely. If you're a fan of Jodie Foster, this is perfect.
For sure. Or Shailene Woodley.
Or the main what's his name here? Tahar Rahim. He was fantastic. I want to see more of his work. So we'll see. Kevin, see it or skip it?
Oh no, I definitely would see it. I mean, during my time at Unger the Radar, I've seen some doozies. This, like I said, I felt like this was a good slow burn. I mean, I get why some people may disagree in terms of pacing, but to me, it was an enjoyable drama.
Sounds good. Cool. All right. And Mike, would you recommend this?
I'd recommend it just for the performances alone. I think that you would have an enjoyable time seeing Jodie Foster or even Benedict Cumberbatch with that weird Southern twang accent that I'm not used to seeing from him. You
Yeah.
could see it for their performances, and I think you'd have a good time with it.
Yeah. And just a side note, Jodie Foster, she's been acting since she was a little kid. First thing I remember seeing her in, the Taxi Driver, 1976.
Mm-hmm.
She was like what, 13, and she's been acting ever since. I think she was acting before that. She got 2 Oscars later on in her career. 1988's The Accused and 1991's Silence of the Lambs. So yeah, and I don't think she was nominated for an Oscar for this year for this. But
No,
she won the British Oscar. So
I think for me, Jodie Foster. My first encounter with her was Contact when I was about 11 years old. But for me, I would say probably Silence of the Lambs and Taxi Driver are my 2 favorite roles of hers.
for sure. Mike, do you have a favorite Jodie Foster role?
I don't. I need to see more of her older work because I will be the first to admit that I've missed a lot of old film and great movies that I really need to catch up with. So she's definitely on my radar to watch after this because I loved her performance as the lawyer defending him.
Yeah. And she also had a very powerful performance in a movie called Nell in I think 1994.
Oh yes, with Liam Neeson.
Right. Now, was she what was the her issue? Was she deaf or
I think she might have been like she might have been like socially stunted. If I
something?
recall correctly. Like she and her sister. I don't remember the whole plot of the movie, but I think she and her sister weren't she and her sister living in the woods?
Yeah, and she meets Liam Neeson, and they fall in love, and yeah. I mean, from what I remember, it was a very powerful performance. So she's a great actress all around. So, Kevin, are you a Foster fan or?
Going to be the same boat where I don't know much of her work, especially older stuff to that extent. I can tell you, I think she did a great job in this film. I mean, the only other movie I could think of is Panic Room, which I wouldn't necessarily say is like upper echelon type movies. If I was put on the spot there,
Yes.
But I actually find it very interesting that you said this was at least nominated and won a BAFTA as opposed to the Academy Awards. I wouldn't be surprised if just given the subject matter, why it didn't even come up. To be frank, I think that's something we got to realize where something might be a little more accepted from a regional perspective, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, it's a very controversial topic, terrorism.
Yep. Right.
You know, it's a lot of gray areas in this movie. Like at times, you sort of almost feel sympathetic towards this guy because he's being tortured. He's in prison.
Yeah. I will say the torture scenes were definitely a very effective moment.
Right.
I mean, I will give it that. I will definitely.
Yeah, the waterboarding and the sleep deprivation, the loud music and strobe lights. Yeah, those were some of the best scenes in my opinion. Very effective. All right, so I would say see it. It's an interesting legal drama, and like all of us said, it has some great performances. So check out The Mauritanian. It is actually now out on digital and will be released on DVD and Blu-ray May 11th. So that is The Mauritanian. All right, guys. So we're going to take a short commercial break, but we'll be back with our second film review of the evening, Mortal Kombat, right after this.
Under the Radar is brought to you by Magnitude Jewelry. Add a 2 to match your attitude. Patent pending, interchange genuine gemstone and crystal EMF protection jewelry. For more information, please visit magnitudejewelry.com/gemgirl or call 718-268-6634.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Randy Unger, Under the Radar. And we are on to our second film review of the show, of the evening, Mortal Kombat. And this is the reboot. They tried the movie back in 1995. It did reasonably well. Then they came out with a sequel 2 years later, which did not do so well, Annihilation. So basically, over 20 years later, they're trying it again. And yeah, if you are a fan of the video game series, then you are going to love this. If you're a fan of martial arts in movies, this is right up your alley. It's silly, it's violent, it's over the top, and it's actually kind of fun. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to like it. So yeah, the performances were very good too, especially Josh Lawson, who plays Kano.
He was. He
He
had
was, yeah, he's a wisecracking. What is he? An assassin?
an assassin.
Yeah,
He's just the guy is just having fun with the role.
yeah.
Mhm.
He's the best part of the movie, and some decent fight choreography. Going into it, it's don't have high expectations. This is not an art film. This is just fighting and gore movie.
I see a lot because I've been seeing on my Facebook feed. I've been seeing a lot of my friends, or I've just been seeing a lot of complaints that it's not as good as the 1995 movie, and I'm like, please take off your nostalgia goggles because the 1995 movie was just as equally cheesy as this movie.
Right.
And by God, they're both I had fun. I had as much fun with this movie as I did with the original.
They're both movies that are products of the time. And yeah, the 1995 movie feels like 1995, and this feels like it's made today.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, it's a fun ride. It's silly. And Kevin, I know you used to play the video game when we were kids, right? Yeah.
Very much so. I actually still own a few. I was playing a few days ago because definitely the nostalgia came back in here. But I'm gonna be I think the odd man out on this one. As much as I like the source material, as much as I like Mortal Kombat, gotta say I wasn't feeling the movie. To be honest with you, I think this is a good example of Hollywood course correcting. You started with a campy movie back in the 90s, and then you're like, well, that was good. Then we went a little too crazy with Annihilation. How do we get butts back in the seats? Let's go the opposite way and go a little serious. And they went with the R, and they try to bring it there. But I don't think they went R enough, or frankly, or if even if not that, maybe even develop characters. I think they were just well, let's talk with the good parts. I agree with Kano. I think the fight sequence between Scorpio and Sub-Zero were excellent. But for a movie that's based on a game all about fighting, I think that's where the fighting stops, in my opinion. A lot of it were quick cut takes, even in the training montage. That didn't do it for me. I mean, we got some great things like fatalities and finishes, but it almost didn't feel earned. It was very quick, and then we saw it. We have Mortal Kombat's on God knows how many games they are. Like I think PlayStation alone, they're on like 12 or 13. You could fact check me on that. But
I've only played the first three on Super Nintendo. I only have the first three on Super Nintendo. That's all I play.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. They have so much, and like good video games nowadays have a background. They have a history, they have a mythos. So to get a brand new character didn't make sense to me. They didn't really talk that much about the tournament, which I get. It's set up for the other one. To me, if I could have condensed this movie in 20 minutes, almost like a fan video for whatever's coming next, which I am still excited for. I think that's the fanboy in me. It would have made perfect sense, but I just didn't even get much of character development. I mean, Shang Tsung, he's usually your number one bad guy. Why is he there? I know because I play the video games. Don't really know because when I watch the movie.
Right.
I'm forgiving as a fanboy to an extent, but I gotta say, I think they could have done better.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to hear you say it because I know you're a very nostalgic guy yourself.
I am.
This movie, now that you're mentioning that, this movie could have delved and played the nostalgia card a little more heavily, kind of like Sonic the Hedgehog. But and it's also interesting you mentioned the rating, how it wasn't R enough. This was actually almost going to be NC-17, but the studio wanted to just kind of, I guess, tone it down a bit to make it an R. I don't know if if the 1995 movie was R, because that seemed pretty
13.
tame. Was it? Yeah, it was PG-13. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
figured. I think this could have been a decent PG-13 movie. I think, bring the whole family, but they had to throw in the F word and extreme gore.
Plus, I think they wanted to be more faithful to the tone of the games.
Yeah. I mean, the games were super gory from what I remember. The fatalities were the best part. So, yeah. Mike, what were your thoughts on the film?
I'm kind of in the middle. The part of me that loves the franchise really liked that it was a little ambitious. It went against the traditional Mortal Kombat movie that I was expecting in terms of structure of the tournament. But part of me, the cheesiness of it, like if Kano does something and he's like, "Oh, Kano wins," I'm like, I don't know if that translates as well to a movie as it does to the video game source material. Even though I love Kano's character, I think that his energy and the comedy brought from his character really helps the movie when you would think it's dragging just a little bit. But I'm in the middle. I went to theaters to see it. I enjoyed that experience. The Regal by my house had just opened that weekend. They had absolutely no concessions, but it was nice just to go back to a movie theater and enjoy a real popcorn flick. But the part of me that wanted a little more structure and was left a little disappointed in the movie.
Forrest, did you see this in theaters yourself?
I did. I saw it in theaters, and then I just rewatched it on HBO Max the other day.
And it's interesting with HBO Max. So I went back and watched the first two films. I think only Annihilation is on HBO Max, but the first one is not.
The first one's on Peacock right now.
Peacock. Interesting. So was there an issue with that particular movie and the rights?
I'm not sure.
It's weird. But
because all three movies are owned and distributed by Warner Brothers.
Right.
Well, the first two were done by New Line, but they were acquired by Warner Brothers.
Maybe Warner Brothers just acquired Annihilation and not the first one.
Although I think Annihilation might have been the first one that New Line did under Warner's ownership.
That might be it. But yeah, for me, I'll be honest with you guys. Growing up, I was not much of a fighting game guy. But I did dabble with Mortal Kombat just so I could see the fatalities. I remember Reptile having a pretty good one. Scorpion, of course. Kevin, what were some of your favorite moments in the game and the fatalities?
Game. I mean, Scorpion's the best one, ripping off his face, burning the guy. What they did in the movie, Kano ripping out somebody's heart, their classic fatalities there. Got a little crazy with the animalities, friendship, babalities, like that came in 2 and 3. But anything with Sub-Zero is always great. I think there was good nostalgia and use of him and their powers there. I can't completely slam the movie. And little references like when he during the training montage where he kept doing the slide and tripping the guy over and over. It's the simplest and cheesiest way to win in Mortal Kombat as a kid, and I certainly abused it. So I like that little nod there. They did do fan service. It's just, I don't know. Like I said, I wanted some structure, some more structure there, or just development of characters. Like oddly enough, and this could be a very, very controversial opinion on my point. So I'm curious what you guys think. If you did something almost like an Expendables with this, I could see something where it's, there's just enough amount of character structure, but it's all about just having fun. I mean, here, really, if it wasn't Kano and Cole, who's a brand new character, who do we really know about?
Right. And we don't really care about these characters too much. They're kind of disposable characters. You're not invested in what they're doing. Except for Kano, even though he's kind of a dick. I was interested in what he was going to do next. I was looking forward to it. So the character development was lacking, and if they did this in more of an Expendables style, I'm with Kevin. That's a very that's an interesting idea. If they do a second one, which I think they might, because no spoilers. Yeah, no spoilers. We know what happens at the end. There might be a second one. So if they rely more on the humor and the nostalgia, I think we're in for a good sequel. So we'll see. But But yeah, Mike, what were some of your criticisms of the film?
The lack of character development would be the biggest one, and I had a big problem with maybe lines that you would see at the end of fights in the fighting games being spoken by the characters. It just took me out of the movie, and I was just like, okay, I would expect that from the video game, but from the movie, I wouldn't expect that to be verbally stated. I just think that's just too in your face with the nostalgia. So I think that was one thing that really took me out of it. Other than that, I think the actors did and actresses did a good job with the roles that they had. It's just I would have wanted more from their character because just like Kevin said, if I didn't know the backstory to some of these characters, I probably would have been left a little lost to why I should be caring about them in the story.
Right. Well put. I also wanted to mention James Wan actually produced this film. We know him, of course, from Aquaman and The Conjuring, some of those movies. And I believe he was quoted as saying, I'm paraphrasing, but they filmed this in the southern Australia, which I believe is where they also filmed parts of Aquaman. But this film, though, because it's above sea level, it
What?
has more of an opportunity to show off how beautiful the Australian landscape is. So he was actually really happy to have showcased Australia in that way. So, side note there. Forrest, were you a big gamer? Were you a big Mortal Kombat guy as a kid?
Oh, absolutely. I have all three games on the Super Nintendo. I remember playing, renting. Well, I actually remember playing them at friends' houses, renting them from video stores, playing them at arcades, watching the movies on video when I was a kid. Definitely, I definitely ate it up back then.
Yeah. And did they ever do action figures? I'm curious.
They did have action figures. A friend of mine, his little brother had them. And actually, I remember they had they also did a Saturday morning cartoon.
Really?
Yeah, and I never saw it, but I knew it existed. And there was also a live stage show.
How was that? I'm curious.
I didn't see it, but I remember like one time, like years ago, running into my school nurse at the grocery, and she was talking with my mom and said, she said she was taking her kid to go see Mortal Kombat live, and I remember seeing the commercials for it, and then I remember reading about it, and it's like, apparently it was basically from what I read of it, it was basically the coming out of their the Ninja Turtles coming out of their Cells tour, repurposed with Mortal Kombat.
I could see that. Yeah, and where was that? It was at Orlando.
No, this was in Syracuse. No, this was in Syracuse.
Oh, okay.
Back when I was growing up there.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, you know what?
Yeah, it's interesting, like how it's always been a violent video game, but how in the early days it was heavily marketed to kids.
I know it's kind of strange, but parents just kind of went with it.
Yeah, because it's just good. Well, but then again, you have to remember back in the '90s, video games were largely seen as a children's thing, kids stuff.
Right. So a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old, whatever, can go into a Toys R Us back then, buy Mortal Kombat 2 with no problem. There was no like restrictions by.
I don't remember because I would usually get video games if I had Toys R Us, if I had like Toys R Us gift certificates.
Well, I mean, video games had ratings. I just don't know if it was available for the first or second. But Nintendo, and of course, to keep me honest, this one because you were a Nintendo guy, Sega. I don't think they had blood for the first one or two. You had to put a cheat code for that. That was their way of making it more child friendly.
Okay. Actually, so the first arcade game had blood and gore, but when it was ported to home console, they took out the blood and the gore, or at least made it optional.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
The sequels were all the sequels kept the blood and the gore.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Cool. And you know what? So back to the film, it kind of reminded me of the tactic of the route they went with the Power Rangers reboot in 2017.
I could see that.
Yeah, it kind of like felt like that was the studio's intent But I think that film worked a lot better, in my opinion. I thought it was more fun, and it played
To
up
me, this,
nostalgia.
I would say to me, this movie felt more like a big budget canon movie, like Bloodsport, or like a mix of Bloodsport and all those ninja movies that they did back in the 80s.
Yeah, and
But yeah.
early to mid 90s. The
Well,
whole
canon ninja movies. Well, the canon ninja movies canon was more, it was 80s, but
Right. I'm thinking more like Jean-Claude Van Damme.
oh yes, like what was it, Lionheart and Kickboxer?
I'm a fan of Sudden Death, the basically Die Hard at a hockey game.
Yep. But
Yeah.
it definitely reminded me of like those kinds of movies on a bigger but on a bigger budget.
Yeah, it's sort of like an homage to the 80s, 90s martial arts movies. So in that respect,
I mean, Mortal Kombat. I mean, Johnny Cage himself was inspired by Jean-Claude Van Damme, and the games themselves were inspired by Bloodsport.
No, Kevin, I'm not sure. Are you a martial arts movie guy?
Oh yeah, I used to watch the Seagals, the Van Dams,
Just
with the more campy martial arts, like early Jackie Chan. Actually, no, even late Jackie Chan would fit on there. But I definitely get that vibe as well from it. Though, thinking the first 7 minutes definitely was more, I think, the older, ninja type movies there, which would make sense. So, that was a throwback there. But I'm going to say, just a little side note, tell me if you guys agree, shame on HBO. I mean, that was one of their best fight sequences. Don't give it to me for free, like a week before, those first 7 minutes, because I just watched your movie, and I'll admit, I fast forwarded because I saw that scene already.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You mean the scene at the house
Yep.
with the gardening tool and all that? Yeah.
Absolutely. They aired it a few days beforehand. And like I said, in my humble opinion, there was 2 really good action sequences, and both were Sub-Zero on that. So you gave me one out of 2 amazing action sequences in your movie for free. Kind of took me out of it.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that this movie wasn't like one of the special access HBO Max movies where you have to pay for it.
I don't think HBO Max has HBO Max done any of that. I think that's only.
No.
I think it's just.
I'm thinking
Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's Disney Plus that does that. Yeah, but and Amazon Prime too, I believe.
No, just Disney, I believe.
Oh, it's just Disney.
Disney, maybe Peacock, different tiers.
Okay.
Yeah, Peacock has tiers too.
It's all kind of a blur, all these platforms. Mike, are you a martial arts guy, a martial arts movie guy?
No, I prefer horror and action are my 2 favorite, but martial arts specifically, not really my forte. I don't have a lot of experience in movies of that genre. I appreciated the feudal-esque scenes in the beginning, which they did give us for free, which I also agree kind of took it out for me. I think they cut the fight in half because you still get that little fight sequence that wasn't shown, but that was probably my favorite fight sequence of the entire movie, with the close second to when that happens. Sub-Zero and Scorpion fight at the.
Okay. I think they could have focused more on the martial arts choreography. It was something lacking there. Also, character development wasn't really there as well. It's kind of a very flashy, superficial movie that doesn't really dig deep, which I was really hoping. Kind of like maybe get into the origin stories between Sub-Zero and Scorpion and everybody else.
Yeah, I agree on that.
And the performances were kind of hollow, wooden. Raiden especially, I was expecting a lot more because Raiden in the first 2 movies was played by 2 different actors, Christopher Lambert
and James Remar.
The second one.
I will get, honestly though, one thing rewatch, because I did rewatch the first 2 movies before I saw this one, and I do find it kind of like seeing these white guys playing Raiden.
Right.
Which for me, which I feel like kind of rings tone deaf now.
Yeah. I think this actor, I think he's the first Asian actor to play Raiden. So
he is.
But I liked Lambert and Remar. I thought they were fantastic Raidens.
I mean, I still enjoy. Well, I enjoyed Lambert. If granted that I think it helped that he played Highlander. His work in Highlander because of that, I definitely had more interest in his role in his performance.
Right.
But still looking back, it's like, okay, you got this Asian character being played by white. It's like, what the hell? Like in the 90s, what the hell is this?
But you know what? Back then, it kind of worked, and I wasn't complaining. So, yeah. Kevin, see it or skip it?
See it with no expectations. And the only reason is I think they did well enough. We're going to get more. And I'm curious as what they're going to do if, like anything else, they course correct just enough to make the next couple of sequels even better.
This was just a template, an experiment to see if this type of story works, this world.
Or still works.
This is a big universe, the Mortal Kombat universe. It's a franchise. So this is like their way of trying it out, see if people like it, and see if we can extend that world to audiences. So I hope they do. I mean, I'd like to see more of this. How about you, Mike?
I would say see it. If you could see it on HBO Max, probably see it there. And if you can't, it's worth maybe a matinee ticket to enjoy it and be a part of that universe.
This is a fun afternoon movie. I agree with you 100% sure. Forrest, see it, skip it?
I'm definitely in the see it camp on this one. I just had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it, both in terms of nostalgia and also like in terms of being a throwback to in terms of being like a throwback to like the camp to like your campy canon martial arts movies.
It's a nice throwback for sure. And I'm actually curious, while we're still on the subject of video game movies, what is a franchise that you guys would like to see done the right way?
Super Mario Brothers for sure.
Because the 1993 movie is weird as hell, but it's still Mario, and it's the only cinematic Mario we have. So I hope we get something in the future. Maybe Bobby Moynihan can be Mario.
Yeah.
Or I've heard rumblings that Seth Rogen might be Mario. Maybe with James Franco as Luigi. I don't know.
No.
That could be weird. Like
or then again, I don't know. I could actually, I could see. You know what? Now I could totally see Rogen and Franco if they take the mushrooms and eat them and.
No way Nintendo signs off on that.
Visually, imagine the possibilities there. Maybe not James Franco. Maybe Jay Baruchel. Maybe. I don't know. We don't want to give the studio execs too many ideas because I'm thinking maybe I'll write the script. We'll see. Maybe I'll sell it.
I don't know. I think I told you about this. Me and because I'm part of this group called Script Club. It's a weekly show I do on YouTube. I do on a YouTube channel called Evil Greg, where we do our first table read was of an earlier draft of the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Nice. I think a part of that. It was pretty funny. Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. I feel like that thing was doomed from the get-go.
Nice. Well, I'm sure you had fun reciting it.
Yeah, and I'll admit I still enjoy. I actually recently got the 1993 movie on DVD. I recently got the 1993 movie on DVD. Yeah, it's not a good adaptation, and the filmmakers probably had no idea what they were doing. But or actually, by all accounts, if you ask John Leguizamo or even or read interviews from Bob Hoskins, the directors had no idea what they were doing.
And I read that.
But I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy it. Granted, that could be just the childhood nostalgia talking.
And you know what? I read that Hoskins was pretty much drunk the whole time because he didn't give a crap.
He and Leguizamo were both drunk.
Yeah, it must have been a very interesting production.
And Dennis Hopper apparently wasn't too hot on it either. But we've heard because I've heard and read Hoskins, Leguizamo, and Hopper's accounts of it. I'd like to see what Samantha Mathis has to say about it.
Princess Peach, sure, she has to speak up.
Daisy.
Oh, Daisy. Wait, isn't Peach Daisy?
No. It was Daisy in Super Mario Land and the movie.
Okay. Peach was in Mario 3 World and on.
Pretty much every Mario game is in Super Mario Brothers.
Princess Toadstool or Peach Toadstool, I guess.
Well, yeah, originally she was called Princess Toadstool, but then she was renamed Peach for Mario 64.
Okay. Mike, do you have a franchise in mind, a video game that you'd like to see made into a decent movie?
I don't have one for a movie, but The Last of Us is coming out as I think, a television series, and
Um,
Pedro Pascal is heading that, and I have really high hopes for that. I think that it can be very successful.
oh,
Um,
he's so good.
I love
Mandalorian,
Pedro Pascal. Yeah.
Wonder Woman. He was the best thing in Wonder Woman, 1984, in my opinion.
And Game of Thrones. The season he was in Game of Thrones is one of my favorite seasons, and he has a great character.
Nice.
He's awesome, and I think his energy. I think there's only two other cast members that are confirmed, so still in its very early phases of production. But
Is that's an action adventure game, right? Or it's a first person shooter?
it's action adventure, and it might have some shooting elements. I only played like 30 minutes or an hour of the actual game, but it's a fun concept. Post-apocalyptic world after a pandemic, so kind of ties a little more into our modern day, what's going on. But
Yeah. Good, relevant, yeah, timely. Um, for me, I think aside from Mario, Grand Theft Auto, I'd love to see done, and not just like a carbon copy of like Fast and the Furious. Kind of make it its own thing. Like the video game's phenomenal,
Mhm.
and just the just racing away from the cops and procuring a tank and then slamming into cars and people, and it's just a crazy game. I think that'd be real visually, that'd be great too. How about you, Kevin? What would you like to see on the screen?
It's something that's already, I believe, if it's not currently in production, it's probably in post. It's coming out. Uncharted. I mean, I'm a big fan of Indiana Jones. I'm a big fan of National Treasure. That's certainly the same vein. I think Wahlberg and Tom Holland are cast for the roles in that. If done right, that could be your next big adventure franchise that I'd be very, very excited to see.
Not a huge fan of. Wait, you said Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah.
Wahlberg, yeah, that's the yeah. I'm not a. I don't know, guys.
What?
Yeah,
What?
I've never really appreciated his work. I don't know. Am I missing something? He's just a one note actor. Plus, he was kind of a criminal back in his early days, but
Yeah.
he's been forgiven. But as an actor, he's never really impressed me. So, but Uncharted, I would see it because it's on your radar, Kevin.
There you go. And for what it's worth, he'd be the supporting character. Holland would be the lead.
I like that better. All right. So we have a couple of minutes left, and I just wanted to go through some of the coming attractions for this week. So by the time that this episode airs, the movies that are coming out this week. First up, I'm very interested in this Spiral, which is it's in the book of Saw, and it stars Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. And is basically, I believe they both play detectives, or Chris Rock definitely plays a detective
Pursuing the Saw killer.
who's thrown back into this world of Jigsaw. And I think that's going to be very interesting. Chris Rock, when he does drama, is pretty damn good. Fargo. So yeah. Also, Angelina Jolie is going to be in a movie. Going to be streaming. I forget where, but Those Who Wish Me Dead. And it's also got Tyler Perry and John Bernthal and Nicholas Hoult. So it's an interesting cast there. We've got a drama / romance called Finding You, a mystery thriller called Profile, a drama called The Killing of Two Lovers, and a French-Italian film from 1969 that I believe is getting a re-release, The Swimming Pool. So it's a crime drama and romantic film. So yeah, it's a very mixed bag. But what, off the top of your heads, guys, what are you looking forward to seeing in theaters or streaming? Kevin?
Right now, I think it's the next big Warner release, Suicide Squad 2.
Nice.
James Gunn, you got my money.
And you know what? I'm in the minority here, but I really like the first one. I don't know about you guys, but I thought it was fun. No, I am totally in the minority. I'm the only person in existence who actually liked the first Suicide Squad. I like the camaraderie that they eventually establish. Obviously, you've got Margot Robbie in her first role, her first on-screen appearance is Harley Quinn. But for me, I just love the interaction between Will Smith and the rest of the cast. Just really funny. The final battle with the Enchantress was not that great. I'll give you that. It was terrible. But leading up to that, I thought it worked pretty well. I think I liked it more than Birds of Prey. But again, I think I'm feeling a little bit in the minority with that one too. But
Want a good nerd fact?
yeah.
First appearance of Harley Quinn in live action is Birds of Prey TV show.
With Mia Sarah playing the role.
Man knows it.
Wait, Mia Sarah, was she in Ferris Bueller?
Yes. Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Legend. She was the very first live action Harley Quinn.
Yes,
That is interesting. How did she look? Did she look like Robbie, or was it her own style?
It was
truly just a woman in a pantsuit, like a therapist. She never went full Harley Quinn.
I will say I found it very jarring to see her with short bleach blonde hair at the time.
All right. Mia Sarah, right?
Yep.
I think she was also in With Honors with Brendan Fraser and Joe Pesci. She had a.
Well, she was also she was also Jean-Claude Van Damme's wife in Time Cop.
Has she done anything in the last 20 years, 15 years?
She married Sean Connery and Jim Henson's sons.
Mike, what are you looking forward to seeing?
It actually just came out today. I think Star Wars: The Bad Batch, I think, is the name of the new
cartoon, right?
Yeah, the cartoon. I'm looking forward to seeing that either tonight or tomorrow. I definitely want to get in Rogue One, so it might be tomorrow.
Nice. I have to rewatch Rogue One. Yeah, very gritty, very different for a Star Wars film, Star Wars story rather. So, and yeah, I'm just going to be watching more Curb Your Enthusiasm and stuff for the next show. Kevin, any plugs? Anything going on?
No, still same. Catch me here when you invite me. Which, other than that, all good. Watch more Under the Radar, people.
Oh, thank you for that. Mike, any projects coming up?
No projects for me. I did finish watching season 3 of Kim's Convenience. Great show, and I recommend.
Convenience.
Wonderful show. So I recommend everybody, if you have a moment, give it a chance. Watch the pilot. Try to finish the first season, and it's not a chore. It's hilarious.
Unfortunately, it's been they couldn't make another, unable to make another season of it due to COVID.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they announced it on their Facebook page. I was really devastated.
It's a great show.
Yeah. Plus, for me, it's like I've been trying to support more movies and TV, more Western movies and television shows with Asian leads. So this is definitely, for me, this is definitely a blow.
Yeah. And you know what? It's interesting. This isn't probably another episode, but TV has become the new movie theater, I'd say. Like, there are so many TV shows now that feel like movies. Like, they're very dramatic, very well acted. The production value, especially the Marvel stuff, these TV streaming shows feel like movies. So I'm really I'm kind of excited for the streaming stuff. It's like a streaming revolution, and some good stuff. Also, friend of the show, Rachel Kolb, has mentioned Ted Lasso, starring Jason Sudeikis, is excellent. So I haven't gotten into it yet, but it is definitely on my to-do list. It's on my radar. I want to thank you so much for being here tonight. This is great as always. With New York City opening up a little bit more here and there, hopefully we can do this in person somewhere at some point. I would love that. That would be incredible. Kevin, Forrest, Mike, thank you so much for tonight. This was a great episode as always. You guys are always welcome back. I'm Randy Unger. This has been Under the Radar.